My feelings about this offseason have been very interesting. It's been a weird offseason, I think, for the Chiefs. They started
Yeah.
off being okay, the Chiefs, have a little bit of problems, then they cut both their tackles, and you're like, oh, the Chiefs have a lot of bit of problems now. And then they go out and they sign Joe Tooney, they get Kyle Long. You're thinking, oh, maybe the Chiefs are, and then they're in the conversation for Trent Williams. You're thinking, wow, this is gonna be it right here. This is gonna be the offseason. All comes together. All of a sudden, Chiefs out on Trent Williams. Trent Williams goes back to San Francisco. Juju declines coming to Kansas City. Now we're just left thinking, what just happened? I don't. I almost feel myself personally. I almost feel a little shell shocked. Like, whoa, like what is going on?
My the whole thing that kind of pulls it together to where you just get shell shocked like that is before free agency started. Remember, we got those stories that they were restructuring Mahomes, Kelsey, Jones. We're
Yep.
like, oh, they're gonna make a push. They're gonna go out. I mean, they made a push for Trent Williams, but
Mhm.
was that their only big money signing in mind going into free agency? Because I don't think they were thinking they would be able to get Juju on a 1 year
Right.
deal. So what was their plan after Trent Williams and Joe Tooney was nice, but they made his year one cap hit $5 million for a reason. They obviously wanted to do more, and the more was Trent Williams. Was there not a plan after Trent Williams to do something else? Because Juju kind of seemed like a thing where they were going like they were in the wide receiver market, but they saw his market was lower. So
Yeah.
like, oh, we'll also be in on Juju. And then they went to Josh Reynolds, apparently, which was reported today, and they were in on Josh Reynolds and they lost on him.
Hmm.
So then you go, okay, so what's the issue here? Are the wide receivers just not wanting to be wide receiver two slash option three? Which I don't know if I buy. That's what reported it was for Juju. I think he just wanted to go back to the Steelers. I'm really curious why Josh Reynolds
Yeah.
declined to come, and I'm curious how the money looked there. Um, but the third option in the Chiefs offense is going to get targets.
Mm,
Like they're going to get, if they stay healthy a full year, I fully believe they would get over 60 targets, quality targets in Andy Reid's offense from Patrick Mahomes. I don't see why that would really be an issue. So for some of these guys, I don't really see why. Like, why weren't the Chiefs in on Brashad Perriman at 1 year, $3 million? You really
right.
think he wanted to go to the Lions over the Chiefs if they offered him? I don't think so. That would have been a perfect mid-level signing, but we weren't in on him apparently. I didn't see a report on that at least. So after Trent Williams, it kind of just felt like the Chiefs were like, we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll spend
Yeah.
this money that we cleared because right now the Chiefs have $18.5 million to spend and not enough players to spend it on.
It seems like they put all their eggs in one basket. And I understand the line of thinking of, well, you need to fully pursue plan A. And if you get plan A, you don't need a plan B. But yeah, you know what? Sometimes plan A doesn't happen, right? And Trent Williams, I think I've said this before, I think used Kansas City as a bargaining chip to get more money, and it worked. I don't know. I can't speak for him directly. I don't know if he was really fully ever considering coming to Kansas City. You had to obviously consider it because the Chiefs, they get a left tackle. They're now a clear number one favorites. Their margin of error goes the highest in the whole entire league in almost a lot of positions. So you get that part of it, and then all of a sudden you're just like, okay, what's next? Nothing's really happened since then. And I think that's what's so frustrating. If you couldn't tell as I stumbled through the first part of, before I asked you about, what do you kind of think? It's just some my frustration with this is increasing, and I don't want it to. I really don't want it to. But now we're in the position of, okay, well, the Chiefs really have to sign Austin Ryder or we're in trouble. Listen to what we're saying. We went from, okay, the Chiefs got to sign the Chiefs got to sign Trent Williams to, okay, now the Chiefs have to sign Austin Ryder or they're in trouble. Like, how did we get here? I mean, we went from literally the top free agent in the whole entire league to, oh, they better sign Melvin Ingram, or they better sign Austin Ryder, or they better sign Sammy Watkins. I mean, that's what's so frustrating, I think, for me.
Yeah, and I felt like my hand was kind of on the pulse of what people were feeling when in free agency, and everybody was kind of agreeing, yeah, wide receiver two's in need,
Yeah.
center's in need, left tackle, all this stuff is in need. Now we're to the point where people are like, Byron Pringle can play wide receiver too. What's wrong with you guys? Guys, Taco Charlton can be the starting defensive end. Did you see his pressure numbers in like 6 games with the Chiefs? It was actually okay. I'm just to the point where I'm like, are we really to the point where we're just kind of like talking ourselves into the guys already on the Chiefs roster just because we missed out on some guys. I don't know if I'm like really there for that conversation yet.
No.
I think players like Taco Charlton could be the answer somewhat. I think even Taco Charlton, the thing about the Chiefs defensive end position is it was so bad last year. Taco Charlton might be an upgrade.
Yeah.
And if he can play 16 games, because I just actually looked it up and he hasn't been able to play 16 games in 3 years. So we'll see if he can do that. He played 11, 10, and 7. I didn't confirm beforehand if those last 2 years were because of injury, but that would be concerning to me if they don't have a guy, because right now he's definitely the starting defensive end. They only have 3 real defensive ends on the roster. Say what you will about Tim Ward, but he hasn't really played many snaps. So now I'm to the point where I'm just like, okay, so are we relying on the draft? Are we going to really hope that a 30-year-old Melvin Ingram saves us here? I don't really know the plan here now going forward. The Chiefs haven't been really linked to a lot of defensive players, honestly. We just got the Ingram and K'Waun Williams rumors, and they have more needs on the defensive side of the ball than that. They need another linebacker, I feel, because God knows, God helps this podcast if Ben Niemann starts any more significant snaps at linebacker. In other news, his brother, I think it's his brother, Nick Niemann, had a great pro day. You know what? Why don't we just have Nick Niemann replace Ben Niemann? He looked plenty athletic enough to play will linebacker. But I digress on that. So I guess the point of my rambling here kind of is I just hope that the Chiefs aren't really relying on the draft to fill some really staggering needs they have right now, because that would be a tough position to be in. That was the position we were hoping they would avoid going into free agency.